Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony Carbon here on the 31st of January 2022. It's been fun and games in Whitehall and Westminster, and I'm going to completely ignore it because this is all about local democracy. And earlier today, we had the licensing committee at Cambridge City Council, and in the grand scheme of things, all they do every year around this time is they review all of their licensing policies. So you may have seen some clickbait-style headlines all about the sex establishment licensing policy of the county council. That's not new, happens every year, like with gambling licensing and taxi licensing, so nothing to see there. Two meetings that are coming up on Wednesday: planning casework, which is just really dealing with the spillover of the ones that weren't dealt with last time, and civic affairs, which is dealing with, well, you could say civic affairs, but actually it's signing off the auditors' reports and dealing with that inevitably very politicised issue of councillors paying expenses. My take is councillors should be paid a lot more than they currently are, given the responsibilities that they have, the amount of work that they put in, and the number of papers that they have to read for meetings. But ever since local government was invented and the expenses regime was brought in, how much councillors get has always been a party political issue as to who can get them paid the lowest. I don't know why. It seems to be the opposite in corporate boardrooms where, well, if you want that talent, you've got to pay top dollar. Anyway, moving on to South Cambridgeshire District Council, which I haven't featured before, but they have two significant meetings, and they had another significant one on Friday the 28th, which was all to do with North Stowe and the outline planning permission for something like 4,000, 5,000 homes. A lot of people are concerned about the scale of the development, but it's one of the designated new towns where a lot of the housing growth has been penciled in to happen. Concern obviously about scale, about water supplies, about drainage and sewage. It's going to run and run. It's been running since 2008. It's going to keep on going. In the grand scheme of things, what it's going to do is it's going to link the villages of Longstanton and Oakington together. Just got to make sure they get the community facilities and the public transport access and the active transport access sorted. But, again, still expect that one to run. They've got some local grants, well, they had, because it was earlier today, their Grants Advisory Committee meetings handing out grants to, amongst other things, groups of children and young people or institutions and organisations that work for them. And then there's this really big one all about audit and corporate governance, which has been a huge issue because of the amount of time it's taken to get previous year's audit reports signed off, and that one I think is just going to run and run and run. Moving on very, very quickly to Cambridgeshire County Council. Nothing happening this week, which is splendid. Actually, the reason, or one of the reasons why nothing is happening this week is because they are slowly but surely preparing their proposals for the next financial year, and you'll be able to see some of the opening papers for the meeting on the 8th of February, which is a full council meeting which will deal with their proposals for the next 5 years, as well as some of the detailed technical papers on things like treasury and budget management. Furthermore, we have moving on to, and again, a mercilessly empty calendar for the combined authority meeting, really, on the back of what was a jam-packed board meeting last Wednesday. The one that I'm interested in, on which will be happening not for another 3 weeks, actually, is the Employment and Skills Board, basically because I'm interested in seeing how the University of Peterborough thing turns out, and also the Adult Education College policies. Again, because these are, or certainly they're still at the very early stages of some of these plans. Like, now is the time to actually get in and say, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? So, for example, with the University of Peterborough, I've said, have you thought about, sometime in the future opening a new dental school, given the shortage of dentists? And fortunately, they seem to be fairly open to that as a concept, and ditto the prospect of, again, sometime in the future, a specialist adult education college being built in one of those areas where there is going to be scheduled or proposed large developments in the emerging local plan for 2030-2041. So, yeah, watch those spaces. Otherwise, thank you very much. See you next week.